My 6-year-old daughter opened her birthday present from her grandparents and pulled out a cute brown teddy bear. 20 minutes later, she came to me holding it, confused. There was a small opening in the seam. When I looked inside, I found something that definitely wasn't stuffing. Something hard. Something electronic. Something that was recording us. 3 days later, police were at my in-laws' door. Let me tell you how we got there. Maya's 6th birthday was supposed to be simple. Cupcakes, streamers, 3 of her friends running around my living room. But nothing about my life was simple anymore. I was divorcing my husband Brett, and the whole thing felt like trying to hold water in my hands while everyone kept bumping my elbows. I was trying so hard to keep Maya from noticing. So I overcompensated. Made cupcakes from scratch. Put up decorations. Even invited the other parents to stay, guilt or self-harm, I'm still not sure which. The party was going okay. The kids were being kids. The parents were doing that awkward supportive thing while clearly wondering if Brett and I were really done. I smiled too much. Laughed too fast. Use the voice you use when you're pretending everything's fine and you're one comment away from crying in the bathroom. Then the mail came. A pink box with a perfect bow. Sharon and George, my in-laws. The type who think presentation equals character. There was a note, for Maya, open today. Of course they weren't coming to this party. Maya was having another birthday with Brett in a few days. But Sharon and George wanted their gift open now, at my party, because they needed their presents felt even when they weren't there. Kids opening presents is pure chaos. Maya ripped through stickers, squealed at a sparkly water bottle, held up a plastic unicorn like she discovered fire. Then she grabbed the pink box. This one's from Grandma and Grandpa, she announced. She opened it carefully. Because Sharon taught her to be gentle, which sounds sweet until you realize gentle is just Sharon's word for obedient. Inside was a brown teddy bear with a little heart stitched on its chest. Maya's whole face lit up. She hugged it like it had rescued her from a burning building. Oh my gosh, she whispered. The other girls crowded around. One of the dads said, that bear's going to be her best friend. I laughed because that's what you do at birthday parties. Maya carried the bear off to play. Everything felt normal. Not peaceful, but normal. And that's the thing about normal. You don't realize it's the last time until it's already gone. About 20 minutes later, Maya appeared in the doorway holding the teddy bear, her face scrunched up like she was trying to solve a problem. Mommy, she called. I turned, still performing I'm fine. She stepped closer. Not crying. Not upset. Just confused. She held up the bear. There was a small opening near one of the seams. A hidden zipper under the fur. She squeezed the bear's side and looked up at me. Mommy, she said quietly. What is it? Her voice did something to me. Like a hand reaching inside my chest. I went still. I leaned in. And my skin went cold. Because inside the bear, just barely visible through the open seam, was something that wasn't stuffing. Something hard. Something that didn't belong in a child's toy. My stomach dropped so fast I felt it in my knees. My first instinct was to shout, to demand answers, to call Sharon and George and ask what kind of sick game they were playing. But there were 3 little girls behind Maya. Parents in my living room. Birthday cake waiting. And Maya's face, looking at me like I had all the answers. So I swallowed it. Made my voice soft. Oh, I said, like she'd shown me a loose button. Let me see it for a second, sweetheart. Is it broken? No, I lied. I just want to check something. I took the bear from her hands. Gently. Like I was holding a bomb. Go play. I'll bring it right back. Maya nodded and ran off. Because Maya's a good kid. Because Maya trusts me. Because Maya had no idea she just handed me evidence. I walked down the hallway without rushing. Because rushing would have made people look up. I stepped into my bedroom and shut the door. My hands were shaking before I even realized my breathing had changed. I sat on the edge of the bed with the bear in my lap. Stared at that seam. At the hard shape inside. This wasn't an accident. This bear wasn't just a gift. I opened the seam wider, looked closer, adjusted the bear so the light hit better. My breath went thin. My face went pale. And something in me, something tired and beaten down, finally got angry. Outside, I could hear the party. Laughter. Running feet. Someone yelling about juice. In my lap, a brown teddy bear sat like it was innocent. It wasn't. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't call anyone. I closed the seam, smoothed the fur, stood up, put the bear somewhere safe, somewhere Maya couldn't reach. Then I looked in the mirror and practiced my smile. Because I still had a birthday party to finish. I walked back out, served cake, sang happy birthday, clapped at the right moments. And the whole time, one thought kept repeating, that teddy bear had already done its job. And I hadn't even figured out what it was yet. When the last guest left, I stood in my kitchen staring at paper plates. Maya was upstairs humming to herself. She'd had a great day. I should have been relieved. Instead, I felt like I'd run a marathon carrying broken glass in my mouth. Let me tell you about Sharon and George. When I first met Brett, he was charming, funny, easy, the kind of guy who could talk his way out of anything. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't loud. He wasn't the kind of husband you warn your friends about. He was slippery. Money would disappear. Not dramatically. Just enough to make you double-check the account. 100 here. 200 there. He always had an explanation. And for a while, I believed him. Because that's what you do when you love someone. Sharon and George were always around. Sunday dinners. Random Tuesday visits. Phone calls that started with just checking in and ended with "we're worried about how you're managing things." They were obsessed with money. They'd ask questions that sounded casual but landed like inspections. How much are you putting away each month? What's in your name versus Brett's? If I hesitated, Sharon would smile like I was a child hiding a bad report card. And Brett never stopped it. He'd nod along. Laugh. Mom's just like that. She means well. Sometimes he'd add, maybe they have a point. That's a special kind of betrayal. The quiet kind. Where you're standing in your own marriage and somehow you're still outnumbered. Then Maya was born, and the money got worse. Brett started panicking about money. Got restless. Irritable. Secretive. Staying out late. Taking calls in the garage. I found online transactions that didn't make sense. Withdrawals at weird times. When I asked, he'd get defensive. Why are you tracking me? I'm trying to understand why rent is due and the account is bleeding. He always turned it into a fight about my tone. My timing. My trust issues. It took me too long to name it gambling. Not casual bets. Gambling in the way that makes money vanish and leaves nothing but excuses and debt. When I confronted him, he swore it wasn't that bad. Swore he had it under control. Sharon and George didn't say, Brett, stop. They didn't say, get help. They said, Sarah, you need to be more supportive. Money stress makes men do things. Maybe if you didn't make him feel judged. It was always my fault somehow. And Brett let them. He'd stand there looking tired and say, can we not do this right now? The final turning point came after my father died. He left me some money. But he also left something else, a trust fund for Maya. About $150,000. My father trusted my judgment. It could be used for Maya if needed. But I didn't want to touch it. College. A first apartment. A future where she didn't start behind. Brett found out, and everything changed overnight. At first, it was suggestions. We could borrow a little. It's for Maya anyway. Then the requests got sharper. Business opportunity. Urgent debt. A situation that would blow up. I later learned those urgent situations were gambling debts he couldn't admit. When I refused, he got angry. When I refused again, Sharon and George got involved. They cornered me at dinner. Sharon smiled. A good mother uses every resource for her child. George grunted. What's the point of money if you won't use it? Brett sat there like a spectator. That's when I knew this wasn't about money. It was about control. And they wanted mine. So I filed for divorce. I didn't want to. My own parents divorced when I was Maya's age. I remember the confusion. The 2 birthdays. Being passed back and forth like luggage. I swore I wouldn't do that to my child. But I also swore I wouldn't let my child watch her mother get drained by a man who wouldn't stop and parents who would never let him face himself. So I tried to be generous. I offered 50-50 custody, clean split of assets. Kept things peaceful around the inheritance because legal fees eat lives whole. Brett acted like he agreed. We were almost settled. He played cooperative, and I believed him. Because Maya deserved adults who could act like adults. So when Sharon and George mailed that bear and insisted it be opened early, part of me thought it was just a power move. Making sure their presence hovered over my house. I didn't yet understand how far they were willing to go. By the time Maya was in bed that night, my face hurt from pretending. Best birthday ever, she mumbled into her pillow. Mine too, I lied. Because mothers lie for love all the time. I tucked her in and stood in the doorway longer than usual. Maya didn't know the storm coming. And that was the most painful part. I went back to my bedroom and took the bear down. Opened the seam wider. Inside was a small device. Hard plastic. Wiring. Something metallic. I took pictures. Close-ups. The tiny printed numbers on the plastic. Then I Googled. Piece by piece, it came together. A recording component. A location tracker. They were trying to spy on us. My hands went cold. I sat on the edge of my bed thinking about how many times Maya had hugged it. Pressed her cheek against it like it was safe. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I didn't call Brett. Because I knew what that call would be. He'd deny it. Say I was paranoid. Report back to them, and they'd adjust. No. If they were playing games, I wasn't announcing my moves. I put the bear in a sealed bag and tucked it away. Then I sat in the dark thinking, Brett is good with tech. Sharon and George are good with guilt and control. But tech? Brett. The next morning, I called Catherine Reed, my lawyer. I need to see you, I said. Catherine didn't ask why. Just gave me a time. I sat across from her desk and slid my phone forward. I took photos of a device inside Maya's birthday gift. Catherine's eyes sharpened. She studied the pictures. Zoomed in. Zoomed out. Then she looked up. Sarah, this is serious. I know. That's why I'm here. Catherine set the phone down gently. Before we talk about the device, I need to tell you something. My stomach tightened. She opened my file and pointed to a page. Brett rejected the 50-50. I blinked. What? He rejected the custody proposal. He wants full custody. My mouth went dry. That doesn't make sense. In the paperwork, he's alleging you're unstable. My heart pounded in my ears. He's calling me unstable? Catherine nodded. And he's requesting control of Maya's finances and care. There it was. The click. It wasn't about Maya. Not really. Because if it were, 50-50 would have been enough. But full custody meant control. Full custody meant access. Full custody meant a pathway to Maya's trust fund. I sat there, hands clenched, and something in me shifted. Something that had been trying to stay polite for months. I'd offered him fairness. I'd offered peace. And he'd answered by trying to wiretap my home and take my child. Catherine leaned forward. Do you have evidence of his gambling? Yes. Texts. Bank statements. Messages where he asked me to use the trust money. Good. We're going to need it. She tapped my phone. And this device, you should file a police report. It becomes evidence. I nodded. Because my body was operating on something older than fear now. Strategy. Protection. War. Catherine watched me. You offered him an uncontested path. He chose conflict. My jaw tightened. Then he's going to learn what conflict looks like. That's the correct response. I left with a list of things to gather and something else, clarity. Brett hadn't been playing fair. He'd been playing for keeps. And now, so was I. A few days later, it was time for Maya's second birthday with Brett. I didn't want to let her go. Every cell in my body screamed not to. But I knew how it would look if I stopped it without proof. If I became the story they wanted. So I planned. That morning, I put a watch on Maya's wrist. It looked like a normal kid's watch. I crouched in front of her. If you feel scared, press this button. Why? Just in case. If you can't find Daddy or you need me, you press it. Okay? Okay. I kissed her forehead and smiled. My smile didn't reach my bones. Brett came to pick her up. He stood on my porch like he'd rehearsed being harmless. Hey, hey. Maya ran to him. He lifted her and spun her once. I watched everything. He handed me a slip of paper. Pick up instructions. We'll drop her here. Text me when you're leaving. Sure. And then they were gone. The hours crawled. I cleaned. Did laundry. Stared at my phone. Checked the time. Again. Again. When it was time, I drove to the address. It was a building. Not a house. Not a party. Just a place. I pulled into the lot and looked around. No cars I recognized. No music. No kids. No decorations. I got out and walked around. Checked the address. Looked at the doors. Nothing. I called Brett. No answer. Called again. Nothing. Texted, I'm here. Where are you? No reply. At first, I blamed myself. Wrong building. Wrong side. Then I tried to calm down. Maybe they were late. Maybe 5 minutes away. I waited. Called again. Still nothing. And slowly, the rationalizations fell away. Because when your child is missing, your body knows before your mind allows the words. Then my phone buzzed. An SOS alert. My hands went numb. I opened it. Location ping. Maya. At Sharon and George's house. My stomach dropped. I got in the car and drove fast but focused. I called the police. My daughter's 6. I received an SOS alert from her watch. I went to the pickup point, and she wasn't there. I can't reach her father. I have her GPS location. Please send someone. The dispatcher asked questions. I answered. My voice sounded like someone else's. I gave the address. Kept driving. When I turned onto their street, I saw a patrol car. Relief and fury hit me at once. I pulled up and ran to the door. It opened. Maya burst out. She ran into my arms and wrapped herself around me, her little fingers digging in. I held her and breathed her in. Maya. I'm here. I'm right here. She pulled back, eyes wet and confused. Grandma said you didn't come. She said you abandoned me. My throat closed. I did come. I was there. I was looking for you. Maya's face crumpled. Behind her, Sharon appeared with her hands clasped. Oh, Sarah. This was all a misunderstanding. George stood behind her, arms crossed, looking irritated. An officer stepped closer and asked questions. Calm. Neutral. Maya sniffled. I got scared. Mommy didn't come. My chest tightened. Because of course she said that. She was 6. She'd been told it. She'd believed it. Sharon murmured, she's been so emotional lately. I looked at her. Really looked. Same smile she'd worn when asking about my bank account. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I lifted Maya into my arms. We're going home. Sharon opened her mouth, but the officer's presence made her pause. Brett was nowhere in sight. The most Brett thing possible. I buckled Maya in and drove home, shaking with rage. Once inside, I made hot chocolate. Not because it fixes trauma, but because it gives small hands something warm to hold. I sat with Maya until her breathing slowed. I didn't abandon you. Never. Maya nodded, exhausted. Leaned against me. Later, when she was asleep, I opened the watch app. I wasn't expecting much. A timestamp. A location log. But when I clicked the SOS event, there was an audio file. My fingers hovered. Then I pressed play. At first, muffled. Fabric. Movement. A child's breathing. Then Sharon's voice, clear enough to make my skin crawl. You see. Your mommy didn't come. Maya's small voice, she said she would. Sharon, softer. Like poison and honey, sometimes mommies say things and don't mean them. You need to remember that. George's voice. Stop crying. Big girls don't cry. Maya's sob caught. My stomach turned. Then Sharon again. This time instruction. If anyone asks, you tell them your mommy forgets things. You tell them she gets upset. You tell them she isn't stable. I stopped breathing. Maya whimpered. Sharon kept going. You don't have to like saying it. But it's important. Daddy needs help. We need help. And your mommy, well, your mommy can't take care of you the way we can. The recording continued. More coaching. More shaping. Deliberate, sickening adult hands trying to sculpt my child's reality. This wasn't a mistake. This was a plan. I saved the file. Backed it up. Sent it to Catherine. Then I sat in the dark thinking one cold thought. They wanted proof. Now they'd given it to me. Months later, we had the hearing. By then, it wasn't one incident. It was a pattern. A teddy bear with a recorder and tracker. A police report. Forensic results tying Brett to the device. And Maya's SOS recording, my 6-year-old's voice trembling while adults coached her. It wasn't he said she said anymore. It was their voices. Their choices. Their fingerprints. The judge didn't need drama. I didn't have to perform pain. I just told the truth and handed over evidence. I got full custody. Brett got supervised visitation. On paper, structured. In reality, he barely used it. Every other week if he felt like it. Sometimes less. Like fatherhood was an optional subscription. Sharon and George disappeared completely. Maya didn't ask about them anymore. Not after that day. Not after the lies. Kids don't always have words for betrayal. They just stop reaching for the people who did it. And financially, I could finally breathe. My salary stayed in my household. No more money vanishing. Maya's trust fund stayed untouched. $150,000 sitting exactly where it belonged, in her future, not in someone else's appetite. Sometimes late at night, I think about how close I came to playing nice right into a trap. And then I look at my daughter, safe, sleeping, steady, and I know I didn't go too far. I went exactly far enough. Thanks for listening, and if this story resonated with you, please share it with others who might need to hear it. Don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about protecting what matters most and finding strength when it counts. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop being polite and start being protective.